been my best friend for a very long time. And that doesn't matter in the context of the situation. I'm only saying that to give perspective into, I'm just saying that. That's it.
So, there's been a little bit of an update in the last 24 hours. Caitibugzz, or Shelby Bugs as I like to call her, went ahead and made a nice little thread of sorts, and now she's tucking her tail between her legs and disappearing after the Z statement, right? Now, what can you get from this other than poor punctuation and showing that the American educational system, or rather, not even the American educational system, because I believe this person's from British, but just the educational system as a whole is failing, and more people are becoming dumb, inadequate, rebards that don't deserve to have their position of power but end up having it anyway. Really think about it, you have about 58,000 people going ahead and supporting this rando cost thought, if she's even a cost thought. I just go with thought, but whatever. And they're just randomly supporting her words. Now I know what you're thinking. You're probably thinking, oh, but Sen, she surely put out receipts. Yes and no. You could be charitable and say she did, but in reality it was a whole lot of nothing. People even wondered what Katie's new response even showed that wasn't really already shown initially, or at least told from George's perspective. We'll get to George in a second because he, oh boy, all I say is poor guy and he's making the wrong choices, but we'll get into that. But the title of this is that Caitibugzz is bad faith, because overall that is a part of what her response showed, that she is indeed bad faith. For example, why didn't Caitibugzz initially mention the cuddling in her original allegation against George?
I was on my phone when it happened. Out of nowhere, I felt him slip his hand under my clothes, sitting next to me on the couch in front of everyone. He disguised it with a simple, "Are you ticklish?"
In her response, she says that she didn't want to push him off or speak out in front of everyone because she was shy, but she could have moved, but she thought it was party etiquette to sit back down, and apparently she didn't want to hurt the ego, his ego, or other YouTubers' egos, but she was uncomfortable and believed that she was assaulted. And in quotes, a bold move I didn't need to make. That's what one of her quotes is in this. Not to worry, we'll be going over all this in depth on stream this weekend. You already know the time, 8:30 Central, 9:30 EST, and I believe that should be 6:30 PST California time. Somebody in my last comment section said California's not that bad. I'll take your word for it for now, Mr. Comment Section Person or Mrs. Comment Section Person. I would imagine not too many people or females are a fan of my takes, considering I'm not relentlessly just backing down and supporting this person. But anyway, back to the video. And so a lot of the Caitibugzz initial statement just kind of conflicts a little bit with what she's saying now. You know, it kind of rubs people the wrong way that it wasn't initially mentioned in the original statement that cuddling took place, which is, you know, a form of intimacy. Katie essentially made it look like George just kind of forced himself upon her with no real indication as to why, and thus making him look worse than he needed to be. In fact, a lot of the wording and a lot of the actions of this person made George look even worse than he was. You would want to say, or you would even go as far as to say, that she gave him the most uncharitable interpretation of the sequence of events that she didn't feel like saying anything about up until this point when it was convenient to get clout. And she was already backed up by the movement of a woman that got ass pats for showing no evidence called Shelby Shovel. It all seems very disingenuous from her, and it seems like she was just going ahead and doing the, I'm going to give George the least possible interpretation. Meanwhile, you guys have to give me the best possible interpretation. Because overall, if you wanted to be charitable to this bitch, you could just say the whole feeling and psychology bullshit argument. And though it is very stupid, it can be substantially backed up to an extent at least. However, how the hell are you supposed to do that for Katie when she's already shown to be bad faith and be working a narrative in real time? The only slip up George really had, well, he has two. One, which was, it wasn't Katie that had the over 21 bracelet, it was her friends that illegally brought her into the party where she commenced illegal drinking. So that's Katie breaking the law 2 times, being in a place where she didn't need to be, because teehee, I'm a cute little thought. Realistically, you should be putting the blame entirely on her. What was she doing at this party? Why was she at this party? Did she need to be at this party? The answer to all that is no, and chances are nothing bad would have happened to her had she chosen to not break the law or just break general rules in general. This is all her fault at the end of the day, and I know this is going to hurt a lot of people's feelings, but I don't care because I'm just being honest about this. To completely erase the fact that she was getting intimate with George in the first place, and go on to say that, oh, he just put his hand down my shirt. How could I have ever seen this coming? I don't know, why were you cuddling with him? She goes on to try to damage control this and play it off as, oh, it was just him who was into it. I wasn't into it. I was just drunk. Which is pretty bullshit. If you take a deep dive into her character, just based off of these allegations, in fact, you'll know that she is just lying at every turn and trying to twist things to fit her narrative. I didn't put this into the initial recording, but I figured I'd put it in now because it's kind of funny. If she was that drunk that she didn't know that she was cuddling with George, or she doesn't want to take accountability for getting intimate with George first, how the hell can she remember everything that happened so clearly? I mean, again, it's kind of convenient that for certain things, she's too drunk to have control over anything. But for other things that benefit her, oh, I remember this perfectly. This totally happened to me and I am the perfect little angel. Yeah, I just felt like bringing that little bit of info out there. Literally Amber Heard vibes if I've ever seen one. Oh yeah, I have. It was fucking terrible. Katie Heard is what we should be calling her. Amber Bugs, if you will. But this is all really bullshit at the end of the day, and something unfortunately happened that makes creators not really want to stand up for George anymore. Which is quite sad because people were still willing to defend him. I mean, I sure as hell will. But it's his statement that he made after being pressured. So go ahead and read it, but it's worth noting that the apology he is making right now, it's rather vague, and it's not necessarily for the actions he was alleged of making. He is kind of backing down, but he's not backing down. So George said, since reading Katie's new post, my perspective on that night and my overall conclusion has massively changed, as she introduced new information that I was not aware of at all before. I have much more I will say, but for now, Katie, I am sorry, and I am sorry. I really hope you can hear my words and try to understand that I did not have any bad intentions. That does not change the fact that you were hurt. I will be saying more soon. So once again, it's worth noting that it's not really so much an inconsistency angle here. It seems more like he's willing to either take the high road and, take accountability, kind of like Wilbur did, and go ahead and say, because it's all about, the key word here is perspective, right? People have different perspectives on things all the time. The problem with that is one person's perspective isn't necessarily backed up on fact. For all we know, George could be telling the truth about everything. His perspective could be right. However, his perspective is being challenged by a woman that's crying crocodile tears, seems rather spiteful, and seems to only want to benefit off of this from internet asspats and possibly clout. And I can say this because she was inspired by Shelby Shovel, who seems to have done those same actions. Getting her internet clout, her milestone, and then dipping, rather than facing the repercussions of her actions. She essentially looks like the saint in all this, when she very clearly could just be Amber Heard's cousin. So overall, I think this is more so a PR move, but a bad PR move. Because like I said earlier, if you show any signs of weakness in these scenarios, chances are, if they have Shelby's mindset, they're just going to eradicate you and not even care. It was the wrong move for George to make, personally. Everybody could have seen that this whole thing was bullshit from the start, but now he is in the trap that many people has forced themselves into in the past. And though fucking content creators like Omni will try to make this as less nuanced as possible, lol, I can't wait till this happens to you, Omni. Oh, but it's not going to happen to me, fam. We'll see about that. Just know that if it does, I'll be laughing more than puns here, who wanted to act higher and holier than thou up until he had to do his little damage control. But it's overall a really annoying, shitty situation. So I'll leave you with what Dream had to say earlier in a 40-minute clip, or 40-minute live stream, or 40-minute Twitter spaces. I don't know. They still have those? Question mark?
There's a lot of people that think that I'm so calculated and everything that I do is so planned out, and that I'm just, I think right now that I'm being manipulative and I'm trying to, I care about just my image, but I care. Sorry. I care about people, and I want people to talk to me if they have any problem. With anyone, including myself. I never want to hurt anybody. I never want to do bad. I never want to do evil. I never want to contribute to anyone's life in a negative way.